Hello, ladies and gentlemen of the comic book community and YouTube, Instagram. Welcome back to Mastodon Comics and Music. This is a part of a tag video that was put forth by Alex the Comic Order. Um, and it's the top 50 comic books in your collection, or in this case, my collection. Um, a little reluctant to put this video out because I love all of my books equally, so I hate rankings, um, in a certain sense. But I guess some of these are books that were maybe an important had an important moment in my life, or have an important memorabilia in my life, and some of them are more recent. Um, so I guess we'll start off, and I'll try to keep this under 10 minutes. First up is Gun Fury, and I should say some of these were just random pulls. Some of them are just covers that I really like, but I really like the Gun Fury books from Aircel. So this is Gun Fury #1. I can't remember if this is volume 1 or volume 2, but this is I really like this. I picked this up at a flea market several years back before I actually got back into comics, and I grabbed it, and this one and two other issues, I believe. Read them. It was a fun story. Black and white art in the interior, but the interior is pretty cool. Great little book. Lunatic Binge. This was a special from Eternity Comics, and I think there was intention to have a little more of an ongoing series or a second issue or whatever, but it never came to pass. Interesting book. I'm gonna have to reread it at some point, but I really love this cover, um, from Madman. Really cool book. Next up is a series called Diablo House from IDW. Um, this is issue 3, and I chose the cover B, the Rat Rod variant. I just loved that idea, that cover. Made sure I was going to get that, and just love that cover. It's great. Demon Hunter #1 from Atlas Seaboard Comics. I just like skull covers for one. I like Rich Buckler for two, and I just really like this cover. Just a great cover, by a great artist, gone too soon from us. Captain Victory. I'm a big Jack Kirby fan, so you're going to see quite a few Jack Kirby books in here on this list. But this is Captain Victory and the Galactic Rangers #1. I picked, I believe it was 2 and 3, and I just it snowballed. I started picking up the rest of the run, and eventually I'm going to get around to reading it. I haven't done so, but it's on the list. Another Jack Kirby, just an awesome black space cover, 2001 Space Odyssey, issue #1. I picked this one because eventually I'd like to get the bigger format book this was released on, but I know it carries a pretty penny, so eventually, but I just love this Jack Kirby greatness. The Fightin' Five, because I love this cover. Master Sario, I believe, is the artist. The Fighting Five, and I believe there's a, not in this book, but in another issue, there's a first appearance. I don't know. The Electric Black. I'm a big indie reader. And this was a great book from Scout Comics, Joe Schmalke and Rich Woodall, and I love that cover. Um, I'm a big Bloodshot fan as well. Love this cover. Um, the Bloodshot #1. That what is that, holofoil or whatever you want to call it. John Sable Freelance #1. I am a big Mike Grell fan, and this I got the chance to meet him twice, and this was from the second one, and he signed it right over there. So it's Iron Mike Grell. Going on to The Man Called Axe from Marv Wolfman and Sean McManus. This was a series I had picked up when I was in college at a flea market. Just randomly, I was like, that looks kind of cool. So I made sure I grabbed it. Looked pretty fun. It was a fun read. I really enjoyed it. Silver Surfer. This was one of my recent pickups, but I had seen this cover quite a bit. Didn't know I could pick it up as cheap as I picked it up. Great story from Stan Lee and John Byrne. Great cover. Just loved it. Very much enjoyed it. Next up is Daredevil 184, the infamous Daredevil with the gun cover, the yellow cover. I mean, it's could be a little better shape, but it's one of my birthday books, so that's why it's on the list. I like yellow covers. Next up is first cameo and first full appearance of the New Warriors. I'm a New Warrior fan, basically because of the crossover with X-Force, which you'll see later. There's a specific reason for that. So Mighty Thor 411 and 412. Great Simonson stuff. No, not Simonson. Sinnott and Friends. Apologize. Here's the Simonson stuff. I got a chance to meet him at Baltimore a couple years ago. Waited and waited. He was the last person that I wanted to meet, and then we were going to leave for the day. Actually, leave for the weekend. And his line was, in essence, capped for much of the weekend. But I finally got the chance and talked to him for a little bit and thanked him. And God, he's got such a great signature. So cool. Next up is probably my favorite New Mutant cover, especially in the Sienkiewicz run in New Mutants. And I just love that cover. For some reason, I'm drawn to it. I don't know why. Next is Derek Robertson cover on New Warriors, number 31, featuring members of the X-Force. But I like that cover. Next up are books that were my favorite reads for a spell. This was my favorite read for quite a while. Well, for all 20 issues of it. Killer Be Killed, Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips, and in my eyes, those two cannot do any wrong. So it's number 1, and this was the Walking Dead #1 homage for issue number 6 of Killer Be Killed. That's why it's in the list. I had missed it for one reason or another, and I got the opportunity. Not the opportunity. I was surprised. I got a Bueller box, and this was in the Bueller box. And I believe this was, I want to say this was from Steve Whiting's donations to the Bueller box, so that's kind of cool. Gideon Falls #1. This book replaced Killer Be Killed when it finished as my favorite read. I like Jeff Lemire. Jeff Lemire's a great writer, and love this variant cover. Um, my new current read, replacing Gideon Falls, is Department of Truth. This is #1, second printing, but it's still a great read, no matter what printing it is. Next up, I have a couple slabs, a few slabs. Guardians of the Galaxy, first appearance, Marvel Superheroes number 18, from January 1969, 5.0 off white to white pages, CBCS, and this is my only Silver Age CBCS. I don't have many slabs to begin with, and I have even less CBCS slabs. Not that that's not something I would look to rectify in the future, probably. If I ever send any books in, they will probably be to CBCS, because they're known for harder grading, and I won't get into that. Next up is a book I recently picked up. It was on my 2021 hunt list, and of which I only have one book to get yet, but this was on, and I didn't know that I was going to get it. And in that high grade, 8.0 white pages, Hero for Hire, #1, June of '72. Luke Cage, first appearance of Luke Cage. Just a beautiful book, beautiful cover. Love it. Love the character. Though I haven't read much of Luke Cage, I like it. Next up is another character that I enjoy very much, and that's Star-Lord. It's a Star-Lord appearance. It's not the first Star-Lord. There's a significant to this appearance, but I can't think of it. I love that cover. Although it'd be really neat if this was the entire cover, but still, I don't know why. I love it. 7.5 off white to white pages. Marvel Super Special number 10 from winter of '79. Another pickup from this year, and because of the odd way I did my 2021 hunt list, it wasn't specific books, it was just specific ranges. So this is one of the Silver Age books, not necessarily a key. The Guardians of the Galaxy first appearance was the Silver Age key. This was just fleshing out the 5-book list, because I wasn't going into modern books. But Strange Tales number 151 from December of 1966. Several great people on this book: Lee, Kirby, Everett, Steranko, and this was the first Steranko for Marvel Comics, his first work, and it's a awesome Strange Tales cover, Doctor Strange. And I love the fact that it's a Kirby Steranko collaboration on that cover. Just awesome. Next up, I had a goal for last year to get I had the New Gods, and I wanted to get the rest of them. So this was Forever People #1, in an 8.0 off white to white pages. And the goal was to get all those Fourth World books in the same grade. Not necessarily the same page quality, but close enough. So this is an 8.0 off white to white pages. Very happy now. I managed to squeeze this one in at the end of last year. I didn't think I was going to make it. Superman's pal, Jimmy Olsen, 134. This book kept trying to elude me, and it's an 8.0 off off white pages, so it's not exactly like the other three, but it's in my collection nonetheless, and I'm glad to have it. Beautiful Neil Adams cover, first appearance of Darkseid, cameo on the last page is how CGC recognizes it. Next up, Mr. Miracle #1, 8.0 off-white to white pages from March to April 1971. Super happy to have this one. I got it at a great price, and just I was so happy that I was starting to complete that goal. So I had 3 of them at that point after I received this, and then it was, as I said, this was all at the earlier in the year last year, and I managed to get Superman's pal in December of last year. So the one that started that goal up, I guess, New Gods #1 from March 71, 8.0 off white to white pages. Picked this up very, very cheap, cheaper than I thought I was going to. It had started to get frustrating, but I managed to pick it up, and not long after I picked it up, I started seeing that grade for almost $100 more than I picked it up. So I was glad I picked it up when I did. Next up, I have a couple of books that were from my childhood, part of my childhood collection. Up until about 2015-16, all I had was one singular box that wasn't even a comic book box, probably totaling at most 100 books or maybe a little more. And this was one of those from my childhood. X-Men, Uncanny X-Men 307, Blood Ties Part 4 of 5. So I had a lot of that in as a child. Stories I didn't have the entire story to, but I was able to read it much later as an adult. And I love yellow covers. I like the character Exodus, so that's why this one made the list. Another book from my childhood. My parents had gotten me. There were these comic book collector kits through JCPenney's catalog, and 2 years in a row they had gotten me books, and from the JCPenney catalog for Christmas, and some of these X-Men 2099s were in those small collection of I think there was 20 issues, and this probably is one of the covers that fuels my love of red covers. So X-Men 2099 May, it's #8. Next we have A-Team #2. This was a book that my brother-in-law had given me that he found in his dad's stuff after he passed away. He said, I don't know if it's worth anything. I don't know what the thing is, why Dad had it in, his stuff, but if you want it, here it is. So I looked through it, and I found out that Joe Giella, the wonderful Joe Giella, had done work on this book. So when I had the opportunity to meet him and get it signed, I did it. And what a fantastic signature that man has. Just an awesome guy. Placement, everything. This is the book that fueled my, I guess, obsession with Jack Kirby. As a kid, I didn't get Jack Kirby, but later, I, as an adult, I got it, and I picked this up for real cheap. It's been well loved. It's got tan to brown pages, whatever you want to call it. But it's still an awesome cover. New Gods #3, Orion, and first Black Racer. So next up is Weird War Tales #1. This was a book that was on my hunt list for 2019. I had gone to Baltimore and I couldn't seem to find it. All the vendors were like, oh, good luck. Everyone I talked to, I was like, okay. But I ended up landing it on eBay for a great price. Very happy to add this. This is Weird War Tales was an important part of my childhood. It was something that my parents had picked up a stack of books at an auction with a bunch of Sergeant Furies, and I love the horror theme in these books. Now, early on, Weird War was a anthology series, and it eventually led later on to more less about reprinted war stories and more about reprinted horror stories, or not reprinted horror stories, first time horror stories. Next up we have Jacked, and I like to credit this book, this miniseries, one of 6, as the book that got me back into not necessarily collecting, but reading single issues and going to the comic shops. So this is a great story. If you get a chance, check it out. It's a great book. Next up is another book from my childhood, X-Men, #40, Legion Quest Part 2, the beginning of the Age of Apocalypse, which was another big part of my childhood. I just love that cover. Next up is a Casper book from Harvey Comics. This is basically my first Golden Age book. That's why it's in my collection. I picked it up for like get $1.50 or something like that. Excalibur #47, another big part of my childhood. Picked this one and I believe 48 at a flea market, incidentally owned by distant relatives of mine, which was kind of cool. So there's a little more story behind Excalibur #47. Factor X, speaking of Age of Apocalypse, this was probably my favorite cover of the entire Age of Apocalypse series, and the whole idea of the Summers brothers working almost near directly for Apocalypse, it just struck me as odd, but then it didn't, because I hate Cyclops, and I got to be honest with you, this was a heel turn, much like Hollywood Hulk Hogan, and I liked Hollywood Hulk Hogan better than Hulk Hogan, so I like dickhead Cyclops better than superhero Cyclops. Next up is an awesome Frank Bruner Doctor Strange #4. This was an AOK from Seaward 19. Stayed in a house with him and a bunch of other great people. Went to Baltimore, and this is my first AOK, so that's basically why I picked this one out, and this one's going to stay in the collection for life. Next up is Battleground, #12. Joe Maneely. Had sought out a Joe Maneely cover in 2019, and I was lucky enough to find this one. Um, just a great red cover for one. Found it really for a really good price, and it's in really good condition. So super happy to have it. All right, winding down to the final few books on this list, and I definitely went over 10 minutes, but that's okay. Uh, these were books that were part of my 2019 hunt list as well. Um, the first Silver Age appearance of Green Arrow, Adventure Comics number 250, and the tandem book Adventure Comics number 256, which of course is the new origin of Green Arrow. So I was super happy to find those. A couple of great prices. This book, it just kind of called out to me, and then I discovered that it was one of my mom's birthday books. So that's kind of cool. We picked the birthday books up for your parents. So Out of Night, number 15, July 54. It has a cover date of July 54, but I understand that it actually came out in June. So fun book. Last few books. My favorite X-Men cover of the entire run. Red cover. X-Men number 17. Just that beautiful red shadow. And obviously, that was incorrect. But I picked this up at a great price on eBay, and it was graded but not slabbed as a 4.0 from CBCS. I'm not exactly sure how all that works. I wonder if I could get it encapsulated. That'd be cool, and I would definitely do that. Next up is the first Silver Age appearance, a new costume of, or not first Silver Age appearance, new costume of Green Arrow. I believe it's first Neil Adams Green Arrow. But Brave and the Bold, number 85. Great book, great cover. Odd story, but I was willing to accept it. Picked that up really cheap a few years back. Almost before one of my LCSs closed its doors, probably 2 or 3 months before then. Great book. Big part of my childhood. This was one of the Weird War Tales that I had in my collection as a child that my parents had got me from that auction. Weird War Tales number 67. It's an early Mike Grell story inside, and I got it. This was signed. I got it by him. Got it signed by him. The first time I met him at East Coast Comic Con in Secaucus, New Jersey, and then I took it to Baltimore in 2019 and got it signed. No, 2018 and got it signed by Howard Chaykin. Was so really happy to get it signed. I just wish I could get a Joe Kubert signature on it, but that's the way it is. Next up is one of the first handful of books that I ever read. X-Force number 15. I've always loved this cover. It's a yellow cover. Deadpool and Cable on the cover fighting. I got it signed by Greg Capullo, Fabian Nicieza, and Tom DeFalco. Just super happy to still own this, and super happy to have been able to meet some of the creators on it. And last but not least, the first comic book that I ever read as a child. X-Force number 5, signed by Fabian Nicieza, right across the blob's arm. So cool to have been able to meet him. I would like to see if I could get it signed by Rob uh, Liefeld and complete the task, or complete the basically my childhood. And I thought it was interesting when I handed it to Fabian to have him sign it. He was like, "Oh, I hated this story," and then I broke the news to him that it was the first book I ever read. And he was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry, but this story sucked." And rereading it years later, I agree with him. Some of those X Force stories were, but it was this was the book that got me into comics. The that This is where it started for me. So that's my top 50. Again, this is so difficult. This was so difficult. Alex, he kind of made my head hurt with this one because I love all my books equally, even the ones that I know I'm not ever going to read again. Um, so I want to thank anybody who sticks in and watches the 31 minutes that this video is now. I guess I should have broken it up, but I guess I like to talk about the books too much. We all love our books in a certain way, and the books that we pick up, and I'm just super happy to share this with the community, and I encourage more people to join in this awesome fun. Um, I know Liefeld is not everybody's flavor, so we'll put Capullo's back up here for everybody to stare at, that beautiful Greg Capullo art. And we'll end the video there. Um, Thank you to everybody who watches, and please join in this awesome tag, top 50 comic books in our collection. And this was fun. Thank you, Alex, and everyone else that has done a video so far. And thank you for watching. In the meantime, keep collecting, keep reading, and keep sharing.